Hey folks, in this video, I'm going to be giving you the perfect checklist to design the perfect presentation, meeting, training, workshop. And also, if you click the link below, you'll find a bunch more checklists on how to prepare as a speaker, what to bring as a speaker for meetings, for interviews, for other public speaking situations, and a lot more. Okay, let's get down to it. The checklist to design the perfect presentation, workshop, training, and meeting. And number one is to know your audience. Now, actually, before I get into all of this, most of these things on the list are things that you already know, and they are very powerful because we always go back to the fundamentals in doing things because that's how you get things done. Okay, let's get down to it. The checklist to design the perfect presentation, workshop, training, and meeting. And one thing I have to say before I get down to all the nitty gritties is that everything that you will see here, some of these things you all already know. And if you're thinking, kid, I already know this. For example, like the first one I'm saying is know your audience, right? Kid, I already know this. Yeah, I should. But here's the thing, there's a difference between you already know it and are you doing it every single time, right? Airplane pilots, they use a checklist every single time and it helps them do what they do effectively. Same thing as a speaker and presenter. When you have a checklist that you use every single time, you'll nail it every single time. So, number one is know your audience. Now, when it comes to knowing your audience, this is very, very critical because do you know what most speakers and leaders do? We say, yeah, we know our audience, but then when we go into a meeting, when we go into a presentation, the first thing that we actually think about is what is it that we want to get across? What are our points? What do we want to say? And we just jot down what we want instead of thinking about our audience first. You see, people don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. And so by the time that you're done with the presentation, you want people thinking, wow, how does Jill know exactly what I'm thinking and know exactly how I'm feeling, right? If your name is Jill, how right? You are the speaker. How do they know how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling? It seems like they opened my brain and took out the thoughts and saying it out loud. So that's one of the key importance in knowing your audience. Okay. So number one is let me get down to the bullet points, right? And this checklist will be very, very key. You just have to go through it and answer the questions. Who's the audience? If you are helping people in an organization, what are their roles? What are their positions? And when you know more about them, for example, if you're talking to all college students versus all executives, they're a different complete crowd and you have to know how to cater to each crowd, right? What are their communication and personality styles do they have? And when I say communication personality styles, we've all taken personality tests, right? From DISC to Myers-Briggs. My favorite ones are communication styles. So for example, are they more direct? Are they more detail oriented? Are they more relationship building? If you're talking to a bunch of people who are more technical, well, guess what? They might be more detail oriented. So that might mean that when you are adding things into your presentation, make it a little bit more detailed. Or maybe you're talking to executives. Well, guess what? They're strapped for time. They want things more direct. Well, guess what? Don't include all the details in your presentation. Leave some for the appendix. Just get right down to the point. So, what's their communication style? And here's the thing, here's a key tip. If you're talking to, let's say, the executives or people that you don't really know, and they have an assistant or somehow you can find out about them, talk to their assistant and say, hey, what are these people's communication style? So, how can you figure out? You go on their LinkedIn, right? If you go on my LinkedIn, you'll see that I have an emoji in my profile that says cat dad, and I have a picture of an emoji, right? Some people they don't have emojis anywhere, right? So what does that mean if I put an emoji? That means I actually, for me personally, I like it to be more fun. I like to be more engaging. So imagine this, right? Imagine the 10 people that you are doing a presentation for, and they all have emojis in their LinkedIn profile. Well, guess what? That's completely different from someone that has nothing on their profile at all, right? You can also look at the way they write certain things. Okay, I'm not going to get too much into it. Right? So number three is what are the challenges and pain points? Now, not from your perspective, from their perspective. If you were to ask them, hey, what are you dealing with right now? What would they say and what would they think and what would they feel? Because sometimes when you have the solution, you would try to insert your solution into their answers, or how they would respond. For example, let me give an example. So let's say you have a headache, and I know, for me, I know the solution to your headache is you need to have more water. So if I ask the question, what are the challenges and pain points? They would probably not say, I'm not drinking enough water. I have a problem not getting enough water, right? From their mind, they could just be saying, I have a headache. Okay. So you want to use their words as much as possible, not your words and your solutions. So, number four, what are their hopes and desires? Where do they want to go? Where do they want to end up? You see, as a good speaker, you don't just talk about, okay, here's where we are now. You kind of have to dangle the carrot in front of them and know how to get to where they want to go. So when you have this first section, you're going to know so much more about your audience. And here's the key thing: you have to include these things in your presentation. Don't just talk about your information. You have to say out loud what they think and what they feel. Okay. So let me go on to number two here, which is to understand your audience expectations and outcome and your dream outcome as well. So when it comes to dream outcome, this is very quick, right? At the end of this meeting, this presentation, this workshop, this presentation, what do your audience want? Just list it down. What is it? Number one, number two, number three, and then can you give them what they want? But at the same time, what is it that you want? What are your goals? What are your outcomes? And are they aligned? Most of the time, we just go into meetings or presentations and we don't know what we want. And that's why we get into trouble in the first place. Because we don't know what we want, we can't speak in a clear, articulate, profound way that articulates what we want, because we don't know what we want yet. And at the same time, if you don't know what your audience wants, then you're not caring about them enough. So that's it. Just write these things down. You'll get a lot more insight and a lot more clarity behind everything. Let me actually speak about this. Clarity, okay? You can't have clarity if you haven't taken the time to think about what it is that you want. So some of you out there, you might say, Kit, I want to speak with greater clarity. Well, think about what it is that you want, and the clarity will come as well. Okay, from their side and our side as well. Okay, let's go on to the third one. Clarify logistics. This is very, very important. Okay, so this depends on the situation that you're getting in. It could be a new presentation. It could be a weekly thing that happens every single time. So if it's a weekly thing that happens every single time, you probably know the logistics down packed more. But if this is more of a new thing, okay, you're doing a presentation, conference, keynote, or 1 or 2 time off thing, even though you think you know the logistics, clarify with the people. Is it at this time? What's the location? Will you have the technology that you need? Will there be a PowerPoint slide? You might assume there might be a technology and PowerPoint, but they might not. So ask them, will there be a whiteboard? Will there be pens and or whatever, right? Anything else that you might need, you can ask them. You can also ask them, depending on the situation, what they want from you. Maybe they want you to send the PDFs over in advance. Okay, so just make sure the logistics are there. And once you, for yourself, you can write a little. And again, there are more. If you click the link below, there are more checklists of things to bring and ask. So you can see, okay, do I have this? Do I have that? Do I have that? Do I have that? Do I have this technology? X, Y, Z. Okay, and if it's not on the list, you can also write in your own as well. Number four, a quick assessment of past events. So during your past events, just really quickly write down, when I was in a similar situation, or maybe not a similar situation, what worked well and what didn't. Oh, by the time you think about that, so you might think, oh, last time I told myself not to do this. Oh, last time I had this idea to try this at the beginning or at the middle, right? So even though you might think, I don't need this, just by thinking about it, you will go back to the last event and say, this is what I could have done better, right? Okay. Remember, every single time you finish a speaking event, don't you think, oh, I wish I could have said that better. I wish I could have done that better. Well, now is the time to actually do that. Okay. Most people just say that, but they don't they don't do anything about it when the next thing comes. Okay. Number 5, what is everything you want to get across? And again, this is just a checklist that you just go step by step, answer the questions, and you'll be actually done with the whole thing usually. So this is very key. Set a timer if you have a watch, use your phone for 10 to 30 minutes and go to town, okay? Set a time for 10 to 30 minutes, and I just want you to answer these questions to the best of your ability. It doesn't have to be perfect yet, right? What's the one message? By the end of this 1 hour, by the end of this 30 minutes, what is that one message I want my audience to take away? Think of this as the reading a book, or this is like a book title. What's that one message, that one belief, that one thinking that everyone will share? What's the most important thing I want them to understand, know, or take away? And then after that, what are my main key points? What are the things that I want to get across? If this is a book, for example, what are the chapters to the book that will relate back to the one message? You can do this on one sticky note, one key point, another sticky note, one key point, and of course you can do it on your Google Doc or your document. And the next one, what are the doubts? This is very key. Not only are you talking about what you want to talk about their doubts compared to your main message and your main key points. You want to, and this is a advanced tip. You want to turn their doubts into your main points. Okay, turn their doubt into your main point and address it. Because if you never address their doubts, they'll always have it in the back of the mind. So you want to introduce their objections and their doubts and answer it before they even get a chance to raise their hands, because you're that good. Okay. 4, what are the next steps after you're done with the meeting, the presentation? What suggested next steps do you have? You can say, hey, the next step is do this, take this action. Here's step 1, step 2. The next step is to email me. The next step is for us to do this. Okay. So think ahead. Now, you might not know, if this is a meeting, you might want everyone to figure out the next steps. So that could be in the agenda too. Let's figure out our next steps. And the last thing is, what else do you want to add? What else? What are the key points? What stories do you want to add? What facts? What statistics? What metaphors? What things? Put them all down here. Brain dump for 10 to 30 minutes, and you will be very, 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 very good when this presentation. You see, one of the things is, most people, when it comes to presentations, they feel like there's this one big thing. No, just go through the checklist, and this will be easy peasy and more enjoyable. I'll guarantee you. Number 6, activities and content. Depending on what the situation is, you want to build in activities and content. It's just not information. Okay. So based on the group, on the structure of the group, and of course the timing needs and the desires, can I put an activity here? Can I ask a question here? Can I make this more interactive here in this part? Can I break up the people up in groups in this part? So basically, depending on the content that you have, what activities or interactions or what other content can you add now based on the content that you have? So these are just some different ideas, right? How can I put in a break? How can I give in a check-in point? How can I give people a mini survey? How can I ask them questions, XYZ, so that when you add variety into your presentation or meeting, it will be that much more engaging for people. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Consider cognitive load. After you have all of this down, okay, and you kind of like have your structure, you have your content, this is very key. You have to look at it from a third person's view. From your side, you might love everything that you're talking about, but are you and sometimes I do this as well, like, are you giving theory, detail, and is that too much for the audience, right? So how can you break it up? How can you go detail, story, right? Detail, story, exercise, question, interaction. So how can you switch it up in a way so that it's not too thick for the audience, right? What fiction could they have? What time of the day is it? Is it almost lunchtime? Maybe I need to end this 10 minutes shorter, and people will say, thank you, I just want to get to lunch, right? So look at all of this when you have your material. What's the cognitive load like? Okay. Number 9, very, very key. If you're working with other people, review with any other key people, key stakeholders, colleagues, because you have your presentation, but when you share it with others, they might say, actually, this is outdated. Actually, we don't do this anymore. Or they might not like what you say and give feedback, which you will say, oh, great, I didn't know you were thinking that. So when you also share with people, you're also making this a team effort. So they'll say, wow, I respect you for sharing this with me. Thank you for giving me thank you for asking me for your input and your advice. Okay, so it feels like more of a team effort. And the thing is, when you work as a team effort, the presentation, the thing that you're building actually gets that much stronger. Okay, and the last thing is this is very key, cut any unnecessary content that did not serve the main objective or objectives. I am back then when I started doing a lot of writing in presentations and meetings. There were things that I just wanted to put in there because I'm like, oh man, this is such a good story. I have to put it in there. This is such a good metaphor. I have to put it in there. It was because I liked it so much. I thought it had to be in there. But in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really relate too much to my points that I wanted to say. I just wanted to get it in there because it was fun for me. Now, don't get me wrong, you do want to make it fun for you, but if this is more of a business purpose, how can you have something fun but yet really connected to your main objective? I'm not saying cut out everything that's fun. I'm saying have something fun that's tied back to your main objective. So after this last section, right, number 10, look at everything that you have and cut everything down that you don't need anymore. Because why? If you give so much information to people, they're not going to remember every single tiny thing that you're going to say. Okay. And here's the thing: people nowadays, they're busy. They're busy. They want to go to the next thing. So how can you just stop it and say, hey, they don't need this. I don't need to waste their time with this. Okay. So here is the checklist for the perfect presentation, workshop, training, meeting. And again, you can click the link below to get access to all of this. Let me know which one is your favorite part of this checklist. I hope you say the whole thing, but which one is your favorite part about this checklist? Let me know in the comments below. And I hope that you use this checklist. Let me know how it goes when you do use this checklist for your next presentation, workshop, training, or meeting.